So now I'm ready to take my first turn. Each Steam Jack has a different speed stat. The speed stat tells you how many squares you get to move on the board. Runners move 6, crushers move 4. As you move, you pick up your jack and count the squares as you go. Each square counts for 1, except when diagonal movement is considered. On a diagonal, the first diagonal is worth 1. Every subsequent diagonal move after that is 2 spaces. So I'm going to take my runner here and move him towards the grinder. 4 and 5. Steam Jacks also have a facing. The facing determines where they can reach and what they can attack and what they can block. Reach is determined by the front 3 squares that the Steam Jack faces. I'm then going to take my crusher and move him towards the grinder and make an attack. To make an attack, your target has to be within your Steam Jack's reach, and you have to have an appropriate weapon type arm to make the attack against him. When you make an attack, you take a look at your weapon stat bar. The first number tells you the maximum number of action dice you can roll. The star number tells you the number of boost dice or bonus dice that you get to add into the roll. In this case, my Recomatic can roll up to 4 action dice and will always get to roll 2 boost dice. Since I'm targeting the grinder, I need to take a targeting token and place it in the square I want the grinder to go. When I place the token, the grinder has to move toward the target marker in 1 straight and 1 diagonal direction. When I make my attack, I roll the dice, count the number of strikes, and then compare it to the target's armor. The grinder begins the game in the catch, which gives it an armor value of 2. Counting my strikes, I subtract the armor number from it, and that tells me how many spaces on the board I can move the grinder. The grinder will automatically stop once it reaches the target marker space, regardless of how many strikes were rolled. Now let's make an attack against an opposing Steam Jack. Since my runner is armed with a gyro shot, which is a ranged weapon, I can make an attack at any opposing Steam Jack, which is up to 3 squares away. In this case, I'm going to be attacking the red crusher. Looking at the stat line for the gyro shot, I see I can roll a maximum of 2 boost dice and 2 action dice. I'm also going to take my free power dice for the turn and add it into the roll to increase my chance of success.
Good roll.
Counting up the strikes, I got a whopping 8 hits. I compare that number to my opponent's armor value,
Which is 4 on the crusher.
and then the remaining number of strikes, I get to move the opposing Steam Jack away from the attacking Steam Jack. So I'll send him flying into the wall and knock him down. With that guy out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and finish out my turn and take my remaining 6 action dice and pass them over to Ed so that he can begin his turn.
Alright, so I'm going to kick my turn off by grabbing one of the power dice off the clock and dropping it in my dice pool. Then first up, we're going to take this crusher here, and he's got a speed of 4. He's going to go 1, 2, a diagonal for 3, and then straight up to here. Now he's got this little blue runner in his reach, so we're going to make an attack on him with the pulverizer. Pulverizer is going to let me use up to 4 dice, but since he's got only an armor of 2, I'm going to grab 2 action dice. I'm going to get 3 boost dice with pulverizer, and we'll roll those. And I got a 4, so his armor's 2, meaning I can move him 2 spaces. I'm going to smash him back into the gutter and into the wall 1 space and face him away, just like that. Boost dice off, and the action dice go back over to Will for his turn. On this turn, I'm going to try to move this runner downfield in order to make an attack on his goalie. So he's got a speed of 6. He's going to go 1, 2. On the 3rd space, he's going to move into this crusher's reach. Now, because he's in the reach of this crusher, he has to make a block break in order to move through it. And the way a block break works is I can take a number of action dice up to my armor, which is 2, and I roll them. For each jack's reach that I'm in, so in this case, just the reach of 1 jack, I have to roll 1 strike. I get my strike so I can move through. 4th space, 5th space. I'm going to go a diagonal 6th space. Now, if I want to move out of this space, I don't need to make a block break because his crusher here is facing the wrong direction. So I'm going to move into a 2nd diagonal, which is actually going to be moves 7 and 8. And in order to do that, I have to redline because I'm going above my speed stat by 2 spaces. To do that, I take 3 action dice, which equals his boiler stat, and I have to roll a number of strikes equal to the extra spaces he moves. So, I move 2 spaces, I need 2 strikes. I don't get them, which means he's rattled. Anytime you fail a red line, you're rattled. Next up, I'm going to move this runner 1, 2 up to the grinder. Since the grinder's in his reach right now, he can actually move it. He's got a control arm and it allows him to just push the grinder. So I'm going to take his 3rd space, which is a diagonal. What you do is you put him in the space of the grinder and just pick the grinder up. That's 3. He's going to go 4, 5, and 6. And then I place the grinder back down into his reach. Now, I've got the grinder up here. It's pretty close to the goal. I'm going to go ahead and try and make a shot on the goal. So I've got 3 action dice left, and he has a fist. His fist will allow me to use all 3 of those action dice. It's got 1 boost dice, and I'm going to take my target marker and put it on Will's goal over there. Now, you count the number of spaces, 1 diagonal, a 2nd space. 2nd diagonal is going to be 3, 4 spaces. I'm going to need 4 strikes in order to get that grinder into that goal pit. So here we go. All right, I've got 5 strikes. 5 strikes is going to get it to the goal pit. We're going to go 1, 2.
Because the grinder moved into reach of my Steam Jack with the interceptor, I get to make a stop attempt using 3 boost dice. To make a successful stop attempt, you need to calculate the grinder's momentum. You do that by taking the number of spaces the grinder moved and subtract that from the number of strikes that were rolled in the attack. That'll give you the grinder's momentum total. In this case, the grinder's trying to move 4 spaces against Ed's 5-strike roll. That gives us a total of 1 remaining, so the grinder's momentum for this is 1. As long as I can roll 1 strike on my boost dice, I successfully stop the grinder and keep it from going into my goal.
Fail.
Unfortunately, I roll 3 blanks on my boost dice. The grinder continues its movement, drops into the goal, scoring Ed 1 point. Once a point has been scored, you reset the playing field, and the person whose turn was next grabs all 10 action dice and begins a new turn.
So that's the basics of Grind. You play 2 periods of 5 turns. The player with the most points at the end of the game wins. Games take about an hour. So grab your team, hit the grid, and have fun.